Everybody, Dustin Thompson, Chapter Director, Sierra Club Delaware Chapter, back again. We've been talking about energy rates, why they're going up, how data centers play into the mix. Now we're going to talk about if we're going to build data centers and prices are going to go up across the region, why not build in Delaware? Does it really matter if we build data centers in Delaware if they're just going to be built somewhere else in PJM? It's important to start out by knowing that Delaware is called an import state, meaning we import power. We use more power than we generate. We talked about that in a video last year. This isn't a good or bad thing necessarily, but it can have consequences if you don't adjust your policies and expectations accordingly. One of those consequences can be in the form of what is called congestion pricing. PJM, our grid operator, enforces standards around how much electricity you can push through a transmission line. If you go over that, which they say is risky, if you go over that, you pay for grid or circuit congestion. Now, thanks to an investment that brought nuclear power over from Delaware or from New Jersey, which also allowed the nuclear plant over there to better moderate its output, increase safety and reliability. Because of that investment, Newcastle County currently doesn't have much grid congestion. Kent and Sussex County, however, have and will continue to have higher congestion until the transmission system is upgraded again or a new large source. And I'm talking like large-scale nuclear, like what's over in New Jersey, or a large wind farm, like what's planned off the coast of Maryland, but connecting into Delaware. When those plants come online, that power coming in should help alleviate congestion, because right now we're pulling too much power from the north and the south of us rather than coming directly connected into Delaware. So it's important to know that supply and distribution costs, including these congestion costs, are the same for all customers in a utility service territory, regardless of whether or not you live near a congested line. So just because you're in Kent and Sussex and you're a DPL, maybe you're a DPL customer in Sussex County, and you live near a congested line, you don't pay more in your supply or distribution costs than somebody in Newcastle where there's not a congested line. It's spread across all of the customers. So if a data center were to come into, say, Newcastle County and cause even more congestion in Delaware, all Delmarva customers and likely even customers in other utilities would see price impacts from that because of this transmission congestion. So where data centers go matters a lot, given that Delaware is an import state, already paying these congestion prices due to congestion in certain areas of the state. So adding a large load without a lot of power coming with it or new transmission lines pulling new power in, that would increase the impact on energy rates across Delaware because we all use the same transmission system. Building a new power plant or new transmission lines is expensive. And it takes about 5 to 7 plus years, while data centers only take about 2 to 3 years to build. We would also have to pay for that new transmission lines on our electric bills unless it was exclusively used for the data center, and that's under the current laws and regulations. So placing a large data center in Delaware would increase these costs, which we would not pay if a data center were built in Pennsylvania, for example, because most of PA is still an export zone. They don't have congestion issues. And those congestion costs are borne by the customers in the transmission service area. So we are not in the same service area as Pennsylvania, nor particularly middle Pennsylvania. We do share with the eastern shore of Maryland, though, right? So putting one there could have a similar impact as putting one in Delaware. But putting them in PA certainly would not, because those congestion costs are borne by the customers in that area. And it's not spread across the entire PJM footprint, unlike those capacity and market energy costs. So it is partially true that capacity market impacts and the base cost of energy before the congestion price on the PJM market is going to increase no matter where a large data center is in PJM. But if you look at a state like Virginia with Data Center Alley, right, the majority of the data centers in the US are in this one small part of Virginia, congestion costs are about 100 times the base cost of energy at certain points because they went from an export zone to an import zone due to data centers. Now they have over 200 in that area. And the 1.2 gigawatt data center proposed near Delaware City, that's about 1/3 of all the data centers in Data Center Alley in terms of power needs. So that said, Can we build data centers in Delaware? Yes. We just need to do it properly with the right regulations, zoning requirements, community protections, energy procurement requirements, and that includes generation and transmission, and it has to be the right size for Delaware. You can learn more about data centers and all of that on our website, sierraclub.org/Delaware/data centers with a hyphen between data and centers. Now that said, putting a 1.2 gigawatt data center in Delaware is going to drive up electric bills no matter what we do. So that may not be a good idea. As an import state, and there isn't a way to build new transmission and generation fast enough, and that's going to more than double our state's energy needs right now. Probably not a good idea. I should also mention that Delmarva Power has proposed a new rate class, or rather renaming an existing rate class for large loads like data centers. And I'll do another video on that, but suffice it to say, it's not good, and we're going to have to work on that. Next video, we're going to talk about what is not increasing costs. So, hope you tune back in.